Welcome to the Tom Sense Show, right here on the air this hour. We have got a massive lineup today, from Donald Trump rolling back bad federal forestry rules to clean out 45 million acres of tinderbox timber, to Canadian trade officials rushing to Washington, D.C. to save their bacon before the tariffs hit. Before we get moving, remember that you can drop your questions right now in the YouTube chat or over on X at any point during the broadcast. If it is a real question worth answering, I will take it right in the middle of the news. If it is pure noise, you know I am leaving it behind. Let us get straight into the stories making sense across America. The Trump administration and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins are finally doing what should have been done 20 years ago. They have formally proposed scrapping the old Clinton-era roadless area conservation rule from 2001. That single move opens up roughly 45 million acres of national forest land across 10 western states for commercial logging and road building. For 2 decades, Washington bureaucrats treated our national forests like giant museum exhibits where nobody was allowed to touch a single dead branch. And what happened? Every summer, those untended, overgrown forests turned into massive wildfire tinderboxes that went up in smoke, choking half the continent. The administration is stepping in to allow actual active forest management again so we can harvest timber, create American jobs, and stop entire mountain ranges from burning to ash. Naturally, the activist lobby is having a complete meltdown. Groups like Cascadia Wildlands are already claiming this is going to destroy watersheds and poison drinking water. But leaving millions of dead trees to rot until a stray spark incinerates every living creature in the county was never an environmental policy. You can have managed forests that produce American lumber and clear roads, or you can have miles of blackened charcoal. The public comment window is open through the 21st of September. It is time to let American workers get back into the woods, clean up the brush, and manage our own land with a little practical intelligence. Down in Florida, Republican voters in the 7th Congressional District made a very clear call on primary night. Incumbent Representative Cory has been defeated in his bid for a 3rd term, losing by about 12 percentage points to former local television news anchor Ryan Elijah. Mills had been dragging a mountain of personal and ethical baggage around Capitol Hill, facing an ongoing House Ethics Committee probe into campaign finance infractions, along with serious allegations of domestic misconduct and intimate partner threats. Now, Mills spent plenty of time touting his past ties to Donald Trump, but on Wednesday morning, Trump endorsed Ryan Elijah and urged the party to unite behind him. Multiple Florida congressional Republicans jumped on board right behind the endorsement, and Elijah is now heading straight into the general election for this ruby red seat. The primary voters in Central Florida did exactly what needed to be done. If you are sitting in Congress, you are there to do the work of the American people, not to turn your office into a running headline for the Ethics Committee. When you run for a conservative seat, you cannot spend your days dodging investigators and expect the grassroots to carry you across the finish line just because you printed up yard signs. The voters saw the contrast. Trump made the decisive call, and the district is moving forward with clean leadership. Here is the latest now on the high-stakes trade fight on our northern border. Canadian Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Chief Negotiator Janice Charette landed in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday for urgent, closed-door talks with United States Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. This meeting happened because Donald Trump put the pressure on, threatening 50% tariffs on $28 billion worth of Canadian goods before agreeing to a 72-hour delay until 1 minute past midnight on Saturday. That 72-hour clock is ticking fast. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney came out saying substantial progress has been made, but admitted critical issues remain unresolved, including Canada's protected dairy cartel, automotive quotas, and provincial liquor restrictions. Jamieson Greer made the American position crystal clear. Any final pact must give United States producers comprehensive market access, align on digital trade, and include ironclad economic security commitments. Notice how quickly Ottawa finds its calendar when $28 billion in exports are staring down a 50% tariff. For years, Canadian leaders acted like their dairy protectionism and vehicle quotas were untouchable laws of nature. But the minute Donald Trump puts real numbers on paper with a hard Saturday deadline, their top ministers get on planes and head straight to Washington to negotiate. That is what happens when you negotiate from actual strength. If Canada wants access to the greatest consumer market on earth, they are going to have to play by fair rules. Over in India, a terrible tragedy unfolded early Wednesday morning in central Kolkata. A massive fire tore through the Hotel Sika Inn on Mirza Ghalib Street, killing at least 9 people, including 8 Bangladeshi nationals and a young child. 6 other occupants were seriously injured and remain hospitalized. The 5-story building was packed, and approximately 60 guests had to be rescued by emergency crews as thick, suffocating smoke flooded the hallways and blocked the exit routes. The local police have now assembled a 5-member special investigation team to determine whether criminal negligence and severe building code violations led to this disaster. Civic authorities immediately shut down the hotel indefinitely and ordered mandatory safety inspections across all 16 city boroughs, starting on the 25th of August. When you have 60 people trapped inside a multi-story hotel with smoke blocking the only ways out, it points to basic safety failures that should never have happened. Families traveling across borders and staying in commercial lodging have a right to expect working fire escapes and functioning alarms. 9 people, including a child, lost their lives in a matter of minutes because basic precautions were ignored. The citywide investigation is the bare minimum response, and the people responsible for running a 5-story fire trap must be held legally accountable. In Utah, state prosecutors filed chilling new evidence in court on Wednesday as they pursue the death penalty in the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. Investigators revealed that inside the suspected weapon used in the September campus killing, they discovered an engraved bullet carrying the phrase, "Hey, fascist!" spelled with that exact error. Prosecutors also submitted text messages sent by the 23-year-old defendant, Tyler Robinson, arguing that the inscription and messages prove this murder was a premeditated act of violent political bargaining. Under Utah state law, establishing clear political animus and public endangerment is a necessary legal requirement to elevate an aggravated murder charge to capital punishment. Defense attorneys are attempting to challenge the state's forensic conclusions, but 4th District Judge Tony Graff is scheduled to review all the physical evidence at a crucial hearing on the 1st of September. When an individual engraves a targeted political message directly onto ammunition and carries it onto a college campus to execute a public speaker, it is not a random crime. It is an act of cold-blooded political assassination intended to silence ideas through violence. State prosecutors are right to put every piece of this evidence before the court and seek the ultimate penalty under the law. We will watch the September 1st hearing closely as the legal process moves forward. Over in Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky just signed an official decree firing Irina Mudra, the deputy head of the presidential office, following a massive anti-corruption bust. Ukrainian anti-graft agencies uncovered an illicit operation that allegedly laundered 150 million hryvnias, which equals roughly $3.35 million. That laundered cash was reportedly used to post bail in a separate, ongoing energy corruption case. Anti-corruption prosecutors say this investigation is still widening and targeting several other ministry figures and intermediaries right now. This scandal hits Kyiv at a brutal moment, as dismissed defense officials and political critics are openly demanding that Ukraine move toward holding wartime parliamentary and presidential elections instead of delaying them indefinitely. American taxpayers have sent over $100 billion overseas to support Ukraine's government, only to see top presidential aides getting swept up in multi-million-dollar money laundering operations connected to the sector. You cannot spend 3 years demanding endless blank checks from hardworking Americans while high-ranking officials in your own executive office are accused of cycling millions of dollars through backroom bail schemes. Firing an aide after the investigators catch them is the absolute least that can be done. What the American people want to know is how much more of our money is disappearing into these networks, and why Washington keeps writing checks with no real oversight. That is the news making sense this hour. Stay sharp, stand firm for America, and I will see you right back here next time on the Tom Sense Show.